Okay, Craig, you asked for a lamp. I'm going to show you how I make a lamp here. It's going to start with me drawing a circle, and that's going to be of a 12-inch radius, which I'll type in. Zoom in, take a look at it first. And the first thing I want to do is change the number of segments. I don't need 24 segments around the circle. 12 is probably enough. Maybe even be less, but I'll use 12 for this example. Then I want to extrude the circle about 2 inches, and this will be the rim at the bottom of the lamp. I can delete the bottom face because that's where the light's going to come out. And I want to put my light texture on that top face, so let's reverse it so it shows up when you look at it from the bottom. I'm going to make this a component to make sure I can move it around and edit around it comfortably. And so the next thing I'm going to do is try and make the hood. And the way I want to do that is by drawing yet another circle. So I need to find the center point of the first one. That's what I'm doing with these lines here. Now I'll put in the second circle. I can't quite see where the edge is, so I'm going to hide the first part. So just to keep my workspace a little clear, let's hide that. There we go. Now I can change, half circle. I want to get rid of those lines. Now I can change the number of segments on the full circle. Once again, the default's 24, so I'll bring that down to the 12 that I used on the first thing. And at this point, now I can extrude it again. And on this, I thought, went the wrong way, so let's undo that. Bring it to the top. About 5-6 inches, something like that. Now what I want to do here is get rid of everything above. I needed to find where that top was going to be and set it up for the next part, which is to make a cone. So I delete the top and the sides, and now I begin to draw the poly faces that are going to make up the cone. And as you can see, as I move around, just going one increment, I'm getting just adding one face at each thing. But I'm going to rotate that and show you a little trick that if you skip the increments, see, you'll see it right here. If I skip, I can get more than one face done at the same time. So it's going to go up and down, and here you see I got two faces right there, and that's what I really should have been doing all along. Now that I've got that, I want to make it smooth, and so I'm going to select all the top part of the cone, the faces and the edges, and go down and get smooth edges. And that brings up this pop-up with a slider, and I can mess around with that until things get smoothed out. I'll make this a component now, call it hood, and then I can move on to the next part, which is where the switch or lamp holder actually is. Make another small circle, change the number of segments on the outside again to 12. See there, I do change to 12. And extrude that a couple inches with the push-pull tool. Maybe 3 inches, 2-3 inches there. And what I want to do is make, see, I don't need the bottom face because that's going to be hidden, so we'll get rid of that. And now I want to make this a component so I can move it around nicely. And I do that here. Now the first thing I find after I make this component is I don't have a real easy way of getting it aligned with what I've already done. I give it a try here and I realize, no, this isn't going to work. So I take it back, I open it up again, and I draw a center line on this one that will be temporary, but it'll work for positioning purposes. There's my center line. And now you can see when I grab it, now I have a much better ability to get things all centered up because the lines will go together. Zoom in to see what I'm doing. And when you're trying to move curved faces like this, it sometimes is a little difficult. So I always look for the little message that says I'm on the right axis, and here it is. It says on blue axis. That tells me I've moved it vertically. So I move it down and type in 2 inches or so, and it plunges through the hood, which is what I wanted. Now I'll do a little bit of cleanup. Continuing on the cleanup there, and unhide the original rim. Unhide the switch part. Now let's unhide the rim. And I look at it and I go, no, it's too big. So I want to make that a little bit more narrow, and the way to do that is again with the push-pull tool. And so what I want to do is open up the component, put a face on it that I can kind of move. There's my line. It says, yeah, let's have a face. And now I can push it up an inch and delete the face I needed in order to do the movement. Now I think it looks about the right shape. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for this example. Next thing I want to do is do some texturing. And so I'm going to go into my library and find some textures. I want one. First one I'm going to look for is something I can use for the light itself. And it turns out I've got one here. It's something I did on an experiment, and it looks okay here in Sketchup. It turns out it looks real crummy in the simulator. But for this purpose, I'm going to use this one here. I want to edit the component so I can apply it just to the one face. And now I want to go and put the name of that in there in the materials area. And I want to change the material types from a default to a material type called bright. And what that does is the game will see that and illuminate it at night. If you didn't have that extra thing in there, and I got to spell it right, it wouldn't light up at night. So it's a special thing you've got to put in. Now I want to go get another texture. Let me see what I can find here. Just sort of browsing. Gray, no, that doesn't look like it's the color that will work here in this for this thing. So moving on, olive, pale yellow, nope, 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 nope. Okay, I'll go with an off-white. And so now I've got that in the materials area. I'll copy the name, put that up there. And now from here on I want to edit each individual component and apply the texture to the faces, individual faces. And so here's the second component is getting edited and the texture is applied. And now we do the third one. And I don't know, I got confused here, something. I said make component. You can just ignore that. That's a goof. And I'm still goofing. There I went and I put the texture at the component level. And I know, hey, wait a sec, that's wrong. And you can see it down in the window where it's entity. It shouldn't have that texture. It should have that white and brown thing. So now I'm going to do it properly. I'm going to get to the individual faces. I'm going to texture the two different faces. And having done that, I can now take a look. What have I got here? Let's make it a component called lamp. Get that done. And then sort of roll it around and see what I've got. Oh, let's get rid of that bogus component. I don't need that, so just explode that. Now I can roll it around and see what I got. And as I do this, I say, hey, wait a sec, what's going on here? And I recognize this problem is that there's two faces here. And so I'm going to get rid of the rim because I know I textured that one. And so I hide the rim, and there we go. We have something left over from the hood, which was the bottom of it. So we can delete that. And now go and put the rim back in place. And we see that looks about right. Now the last thing here, I thought, well, it's probably need some kind of something to represent where the cord is coming. So I'm going to add a tube off the top. And the first thing I need to do is figure out where the middle is. So once again, I put a line in there and find the middle of the line. And then I can draw straight up from the center of that model, which I do here. About 18 inches, I think it is. And now I'm going to use a plug-in called Tube from Line. I want to make sure I get all the extraneous lines out of there before I use this plug-in. Now I pick the plug-in, if I can find it. Where is it now? There it is. Okay. So you can see it says, what am I making here? How many segments? This is a real narrow thing. So even 12 segments is probably too big. And I put down 6. It probably could be 3 or 4, but I put in 6. And I run the function and I come back and look at it. I go, no, that's too fat. So I did an undo. And let's find that plug-in again. Let's try a 1/2 inch radius. and this looks better, except I see, wait a second, the faces are reversed. So go in there and select the connected faces and reverse them and apply the texture. And now, because I've done this before, I know there's a face on the bottom of this tube, and it's going to be hidden, and I don't need that. So I want to turn this into a component so I can make a copy of it and rotate the copy to a position where I can find that face that's hidden and delete it. And so this is another advantage of using components where you've got identical things going on and any change you make applies everywhere. It's just easier for me to find this when I pull away from everything else. And down there at the bottom is that extra face. And so now I can delete it and it's gone. Now I don't need the extra copy of the component, and I delete that. And here we go. I've got something that looks kind of like a lamp. And it's taken 10 minutes to do. Just a little more than I thought, but there we go.